So you never know what you're going to learn in an online course. So I recently completed a course on Coursera, which is one of these venues for massively open online courses. And I took Computing for Data Analysis. This is a 4-week introduction to the R programming language, which is used for statistics. I wrote about it in a previous blog. So I did learn a few things about R, but I also got a good sense of where bad code comes from. You see, when you do a programming assignment for an online course, you get the credit when your code works on a bunch of test cases. Now, you're given the output it's supposed to generate, and so you write the code to generate that output based on what you've learned. Now, there's no points for style, though. See, when I first learned how to program in an academic style, it was all about functional decomposition. So you break a code into little bits so you can understand what each component does. And each component is easier to test, it's easier to debug or maintain. It's a little harder to write up front, but it's much better in the long run. So anyway, with this Coursera course, I'm writing code. I know that there's a right way to do it, and then there's a quick and dirty way to do it. Now, for the first assignment, I'm staying up all night doing things the right way, right? I'm testing the input for validity. I'm worrying about edge cases. I'm taking out all the hard-coded numbers that are in the code, putting them into parameters that I can change, and so I'm writing functions that call other functions, and I realize I don't have to do any of that. So the next assignment, I just wrote these really awful if-then-else constructs. I'm copying and pasting them from one place to the next. Now, you really don't want to program like that if you can help it, since you know the first time there's a change, you're going to have to rewrite everything. Guess what? I completed the assignment. I finished up. I went to bed early. So, I had a moment of clarity right then about where bad code comes from. It's from lazy programmers that think they can get away with it. So they're like, oh, here's this little piece of code. It only has to do this one job. Pass the test and I'm done. I go on to the next thing. No one's going to really get excited if it doesn't work, to the ideal. So programmers are definitely lazy. I mean, in a good way, usually. I mean, you don't want to do the same thing over and over again. You want to write code to do it for you. That's one form of being lazy. The trouble is, in most instances, when you're writing code, someone will need to use it again. Even if that's just someone who has to put it out of its misery. Someone has to figure out what it does. And a lot of times that's you, because you've forgotten what you did 2 years ago. You look at it and it's like someone else wrote it. So a couple lessons here. First, it seems like it's going to be hard for online courses to programmatically check for style. There's another course in the series, this data analysis series, and they were going to have a programming component, but they decided not to have the code uploads because there's a security threat. So you can imagine an attacker might join the course, write some bad code and upload it that other students are being asked to execute, and now their computers are zombies because you have some include file that's bringing in who knows what, right? So now the course is only asking for the results of your analysis, not the code that produced it. Second, if you're responsible for code that's going to be put into production, make sure the people that you're working with have that discipline of coding correctly. And that's not something that an online course will necessarily be in a position to teach somebody. So checking code for functionality is cheap. Checking code for style is expensive. Love to hear what you think and your experiences, where you learned how to program with good style in the comments. Thanks.